Okay, in Module 10, we're going to talk about the operation of multiplication and division of fractions. And we're going to start with those two operations because they're the easier of all four operations. Okay, you have to first go back to 4th and 5th grade math and know your rules, your straight facts. So we have to know how one multiplies fractions that just contain numbers, constants. And the rule goes real simple as a song. Multiplying fractions is no problem. Top times top, bottom times bottom. So when you multiply fractions, you are going straight across. You're multiplying numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. So if you look at my PowerPoint, I have the example 6/15 times 10/5. Okay, two rational expressions, fractions. The rule for multiplying says we just go straight across. 6 times 10 is 60. 15 times 5 is 75. Okay? Now the problem is you can't leave 60 over 75 as your final fraction because we know that fraction bar means division, and division means you need to reduce it. So now we got to divide 60 and 75 by their greatest common factor. If you know their greatest common factor, then you'll reduce the fraction, simplify it in one step. If you don't know the greatest common factor, it will take you several steps to reduce it. Well, the greatest common factor of 60 and 75 is 15. So if you knew that, you would divide 60 by 15 and get 4, and divide 75 by 15 and get 5. So that fraction, when you multiply, the product would be 4/5. Now, most of you probably did not know the greatest common factor was 15. So what probably you guys did is you worked it in several steps. You first looked at 60 and 75 and said, okay, I know my rules for divisibility. If a number ends in a digit 0 and a digit 5, I can divide by 5. And in your head, you probably said, okay, 60 divided by 5 is off the times tables, that's 12. 75 divided by 5 would give me 15. But 12 over 15 isn't reduced because they have a factor in common. 12 and 15 have a factor of 3. And if you took 12 and divided it by 3, you'd get the 4. And if you took 15 and divided by 3, you would get the 5. And you still would get the same product as me, 4/5. It just took you several steps. Well, the problem with multiplying is, we all understand, when you multiply numbers, they get bigger. And then you're going to have to do division and make them smaller. Well, that's a lot of work. So you guys learned shortcuts back in elementary school. You were taught something called cross-cancel in elementary school. Now, I'm not a fan of the word cross-cancel because you just think you can cancel diagonally, and that is a lie. I just call it canceling. Canceling means to do the operation of division. And I need to make sure you understand why you can even do division first. So let's go back to our original two fractions. 6/15 times 10/5. We know that black dot means multiplication. We know those bars mean division. Well, if you remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, multiplication and division are equal. You don't do multiply first and then do divide. You do them in the order you see them. And that's an important concept here to understand. Because this expression has multiplication, the dot, and the bars division, you can do the division first. And the division is the canceling. So there's lots of ways to do the canceling. The way you all learned was called cross-cancel, where you look in the numerator and you look in the denominator diagonally and see if you can divide. So if you look, in my numerator there's a 10, and in my denominator there's a 15. They're across from each other. And you can reduce them. You could divide them by the common factor of 5. So that's what I've done. I said 10 divided by 5 and I put the 2. I did 15 divided by 5 and I put the 3. So now I have the fraction 6/3 times 2/5. Everybody's with me? But you're not done canceling. Now I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, Miss Black, I can't cross-cancel anymore. 6 and 5 don't have a factor in common other than 1. 2 and 3 does not have a factor common other than 1. I agree with that. But you were taught wrong. You don't have to just cancel diagonally. as long as one number is in the numerator and one number is in the denominator. There is a bar between them, and that means you can divide. And if you look at my expression, 6 over 3 can be divided. 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3. Even though 6 is here in the numerator and 3 is right underneath it in the denominator, and we're not going across to cancel, we could still cancel that. 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now my fraction is 2 over 1 times 2/5. Now there's no more reducing because 2 and 1 can't reduce, 2 and 5 can't reduce, 2 and 1 can't reduce, 2 and 5 can't reduce. There are no more common factors. So now I'll multiply across and I'll get the 4/5. And you're going to find out when we're doing algebra, it makes more sense to do the division first and get everything smaller and take what's left and then multiply across. So let's go to the whiteboard and try one.